twice a month, I meet with a close friend, and we take 15 to 20 minutes to meditate together. The last time was last Saturday, actually, and I remember I was a little bit puzzled because I was flashed several pictures in my mind while I was meditating, but nothing much into insight or the way I'm used to getting words or inspiration. So anyway, one of the pictures was actually with Tibetan tinge. It was very difficult for me to recognize it at first. It was a figure of God or a goddess, all pictured, painted in red with this formidable, terrible face to scare the flaws and the vices of the world, I guess. In any case, somehow I got this idea that I was supposed to have that one at home. And I thought, where am I going to find that? And I'm not going to spend my time looking for it or spending money really on those images. In my experience, it's a little bit difficult to chase those images in the stores, even internet stores. That if you want to have a high quality, they're very, very expensive, and those that are cheap come with missing the details. Anyway, so I promptly, as soon as I shared that vision of picture with my friend, I promptly forgot about it completely, and it stayed forgotten until earlier today. While during a walk in the neighborhood with my husband, I was in this whiny mood of full of grievances, complaining how I'm not one of those people who get messages. I tend to be more of the throat where I can see patterns, and it seems like whatever my ideas are, they feel like more like mine, and it's not like they are given by my guides. So the rant went on for, I don't know, several minutes, I think half of the duration of our walk, and my husband humored me. He humors me on a regular basis, for which I'm very grateful. And I came back still in not quite a happy mood for whatever reason. I had no reason to be that way, but you know how ego does what ego wants. So I was still in that whiny state of mind. Didn't feel like doing any work or anything productive. So I thought, well, might as well jump on Facebook and scroll through the feed. and then there's something very interesting that happened there. One of the reels was actually about exactly the same image from my last meditation. And it caught my eye immediately. I tend to be a very visual person. So I was like, wait a minute, I have seen this picture before. It turned out it's the picture of Vajrayogini, which is the Dakini of transformation. And something more interesting happened. At the end of the reel, I heard the voice of the creator saying, and save this image and bring the energy of Vajrayogini to your home. And immediately I remembered that meditation from last Saturday and said, wow, they did find a way to get that image and picture into my home without me going out to the stores and chasing different prints and paintings. And not only that, but I was humbled. There is no coincidence that on the morning when I go there and spiral down and complains how I don't get my guidance through images and clear ideas and pictures, I will be reminded that that picture was not mine. I don't know where it came from. It happened during my meditation with my friend. I forgot about it, but now it circled back. And not only I found it, and now I have it printed and saved on my phone for those leisurely times to look at it and meditate on the energy of that image. But it was a little bit of a rebuke that I got this answer exactly 20 minutes after I went on my rant, how I don't get my messages. I don't get visions from the spirit realm. And it filled my heart with gratitude. I did laugh at first, of course. But then my heart felt with gratitude, and I was humbled at first to be reminded that I do get my answers just like everybody else. And that the reason that we might think that we don't get our answers is because we are closed off. We're too busy complaining and looking at what is wrong out there, or falling back into patterns from the past where you might have not seen the guidance and you thought you lacked that. Habit is something very difficult to break. I find myself having to work day in and day out on these habits to move away from the past patterns of feeling alone and neglected and overlooked and abandoned, and you name your own, you can fill in your own gaps. I'm not. And none of us are. But we carry a lot of past patterns, and that is where the work is. Enlightenment, apparently, is not that difficult. The difficulty lies in getting over or rid of your past habits. Enlightenment is there. It's not, you don't achieve it through struggle and hustle and bringing something new to your life. Apparently, you achieve it by removing this habit and this pattern and this complaint and this negativity until you remove all the clouds and see what is behind. Until then, we're going to have ups and downs. But going back to my story, I felt this sense of gratitude again, the sense of being always protected. Look at me being a baby here crying that I'm not protected or guided. Well, in fact, the guidance was just there waiting for me to see it. And on that note, when I say gratitude, I want to talk a little bit about the difference between what we think of gratitude, or we have been trained to think of gratitude in everyday life, and what true gratitude is. There's too much going on, misunderstanding of what gratitude is, and very frequently we are kind of suckered into this idea of like, oh, I'm grateful for this, oh, I'm grateful for that. Even in the spiritual community, be careful. The true gratitude does not compare. So anytime when you say, I'm so grateful because it could have been so much worse, that is not true gratitude. You're appeasing your fears. You're consoling yourself. You are getting over your anxieties. Or in the worst case scenario, when you say, oh, look at those other people who are suffering more, you're actually comparing yourself. It doesn't make any sense. And I got the first glimpse of this distinction between the mundane way we toss this word of gratitude and the real gratitude. For the first time, I actually was aware of that when I was going through the Course in Miracles lessons, and lesson 195, I believe, says, love is the way I walk in gratitude. And that is for the first time I was struck about this, where the voice of the book portrayed that difference between everyday gratitude, oh, thank you because you could have been so worse, and the real gratitude of what it is. The real thing does not bring any comparison. There are no comparing with others. There's no comparing what could have been, should have been, where you were before. None of that. It took me at least 5 years before I first got a first-hand experience of the real gratitude. And of all places, it happened during a dentist appointment. I was in the dentist chair, mouth was open, I had the protective goggles, and then my doctor was checking my teeth. And then I was washed with this sense of gratitude. The realization that I don't want to be a dentist. I don't want to go check other people's teeth. And yet there's a person out there who wanted to be that, and who wanted to provide the service to me, and I was so grateful to them. And then I was grateful to their assistant, because I don't want to be a dentist assistant, but that there is another person who wanted to provide that service to me. And there were people at the front desk who actually made the appointment. And again, I felt this gratitude for them that they're there. I don't want to be a front desk person. And it felt like waves and waves of this sense of gratitude. Gratitude for the way the whole existence is structured. Gratitude for all the people that are there around me, for everybody who has been there, even whose presence is quiet and invisible. On the way back, I was driving along the street and I would see the stoplight. I was like, there's so much work that has been put behind that. Some engineer must have done studies to figure out the pattern of our stoplights. Another engineer must have built the stoplights. The construction workers along the roads who build the roads. Everything is the product of some other human who has put that value into my existence. And I go every day without even thinking. And so every time when I looked around, there were more and more reasons for me to feel gratitude. And I felt this waves and waves washing through my senses. It didn't subside for hours. I would go home and again, I would look at my family or something else and another wave of gratitude will wash through me. And that is when, for the first time, I felt what true gratitude is. There was zero tinge of comparison. True gratitude, I was not even aware that the other people, well, yes, that they are providing services, but there was no sense of like, oh, look at me. The true gratitude was actually, if I would think of another person, all I wanted was to have them here within me so I can share that gratitude with them so they too can feel what that feeling is. And so since then, I have had several experiences to a point that once you know what the real thing is, you can actually spot it much more easily and more frequently. I can actually bring it at will whenever I find myself spiraling down. And I remember that I want to experience true gratitude, which sadly today I didn't. I went ranting how I was never guided and I never was given messages. But whenever I remember, I can actually bring it at will. And it is a great experience to have it. And I actually included more of the story, the dentist, and that sense of gratitude in my book, Effortless Reality. So if you want to have more details, I'll let you go and check out the book. But I would end today with a small paragraph that was given to me as a message and actually went into my meditations book, which is the green book, I call it, versus the purple, Effortless Reality. And it was given to me in the period between somewhere in 2020, 2021, when we were still going through the worldwide pandemic and the lockdowns. And coincidentally or synchronistically, I was going through a very deep, profound personal transformation back then. And many of the messages that I actually received during that span of 2 or 3 years actually made it into this book. And so I will end here with insight on gratitude. And it is here connected actually with two other with two other feelings of or emotions, attitudes of acceptance and joy. This is one of my favorite passages because it brings the three together to remind me that they work together and they're very, very practical. I forgot to say that gratitude could be very practical. This is not just some abstract. Yes, it feels great and the waves when they're coming and you want to share and you feel invincible, but it actually helps also on a very practical level. Gratitude, for instance, has helped me to be able to say no. When someone encroaches in your space, and those of us with very strong Piscean energies, you know how it feels. Our boundaries are a little bit too fuzzy sometimes and people can encroach. And you do have, Pisces has a sense of what is right and wrong, but we just don't know how to say no to someone encroaching. And so the gratitude actually has helped me get over pitying others, so feeling sorry for others. And that eventually directly led to me being able to say no when it didn't feel right, and when I felt that people should be able to stand on their feet, and it's empowering if they find their own solutions. And if I just step in and save them all the time, nobody benefits from that. And gratitude here helped a lot, the understanding that we all are protected. I'm not special. You are protected. They are protected. And so it helped, it made it so much easier for me to say, no, I cannot help you today. Because gratitude, feeling gratitude for my own protection reminded me also that they too have their own protection. They have their powers. And the question is not whether I should help them or not, but why are they not allowing the help? And if they're not allowing the bigger help, do you really think they would allow my help? So it has helped in a very, very pragmatic, tangible way. But anyway, well, I'll end today with just this, my favorite message. So much for me, whiny that I don't get messages and I am not guided and protected in the way I want it. So here it is. Acceptance does not mean enabling or condoning, but ceasing to grasp, twist, or wish true what can never be true. Acceptance brings peace. Gratitude bestows grace. And joy frees you from suffering. Ever since I got this message, the three have always been in my heart, just like the three charities: acceptance, gratitude, and joy.